Yeah, I'm going to start streaming live. And maybe we'll see if people have something to say. I wonder if it's going to give me feedback or not. Yeah, I'm going to start streaming live. Looks like it's going to be. Turn the volume all the way down. Let's see. Okay. Let me see if I can stream live to YouTube and Facebook at the same time, right?
I believe so on Zoom, yes. I don't know if it will depend on your plan, but you should be able to do that on Zoom as well.
Oh, there we go. We got Colleen. It looks like it's only letting me go to YouTube because it looks like if I picked YouTube, that's basically all I got to. You can only do one at a time. Yeah. I'm gonna share this link and go ahead and do that. Hi, Colleen.
Hi.
I know I didn't give any notes.
Colleen, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm just sharing this before we start.
Yeah, did I? Oh, I found it.
I'm going to share this to a couple of rooms. And one more. I'm going to share it to our page. Make sure, Yolanda and Colleen, that you take down questions and notes because I definitely want to answer questions on this, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I want you guys to be really vocal, anything that comes to your mind, even if you have an objection, okay? All right. And we'll talk about it at the end, okay? I'm going to start recording. All right, hi everyone. So we have a couple of our team members on and we're going to talk about sales. Now, I know when I say that word, everyone has their presuppositions, but hopefully today I open up your mind to a different type of perspective. When I started off in sales, I was very, very bad. I probably deemed myself the worst salesperson in the world. And there's many reasons for that. So rather than talking about sales tricks, we're going to talk about the mindset that needs to be adjusted in order for you to be successful in sales. And Mohammed is going to chime in. Make sure you write down any questions or thoughts you have, and at the end, we'll get to them. Okay, gonna share my screen. Everybody can see that?
Yes.
All right, let's roll. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about sales. Now I'm going to talk to you about selling yourself on a product, selling yourself on a product. As a person in sales, you are a facilitator of a need. Always remember at the core, that's what it's about. You are simply helping to fulfill a need. Now I'm going to give you a scenario, Yolanda and Colleen, and I want you to come off of mute and play along with me. Okay, so let's imagine that you are a personal trainer. You work at a gym You have a person who comes in, his name is Sam. He is 45 years old, but after your assessment, you realize that he has the health of a 60-year-old man. Sam does not cook for himself. He eats fast food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The reason why he's in the office today is because his doctor strongly encourages him to exercise and to change his eating habits. When you look at Sam, Sam is very pale, very fragile, very, very weak, and he is overweight. Now, here's one special note. In this scenario, Sam is never going to return back to the gym if you do not help him to come to understand that he needs to buy personal training. Okay? Now, Colleen, can you come off of mute and tell me in 1 minute, what would you say to Sam?
I think in this situation, I would be very honest and start with that obviously he's here because his doctor, who's a medical professional, told him that he needs to change his lifestyle and this lifestyle is not healthy. And I think I would tell him that with where we're starting, we're going to start like slow and kind of work our way up to help him get into shape. Because obviously he has the health of a 60-year-old, so he can't be doing like normal workouts that a 45-year-old would be doing. So I think I would let him know that it's going to be a gradual process and that he's here for a reason because his doctor wants him to be healthier. And maybe if he has a family, talk to him and say that he wants to be around for his family, he wants to be healthy for them, and he wants to live a long life so he can enjoy his like his family and be healthy.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you, Colleen. Yolanda?
I think Yolanda, she had some internet issues. She's trying to get back in.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's imagine that Sam doesn't have a family in this scenario. He is very, very unmotivated.
I think if he's unmotivated, then I think probably if he's unmotivated, you kind of just have to tell him like the reality of the situation, that he is very unhealthy and that he has the body of a 60-year-old,
Mhm.
and be honest with him and tell him that this is not a healthy lifestyle and it's going to end his life shorter if he continues with this the way that he is.
Mhm. All right, perfect. Yolanda, you're back? All right. Now,
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you hear the scenario, Yolanda, about Sam, our made-up character?
I just hear the first sentence like, what's the name? Tom? Sam?
Sam.
Yeah, I heard like he likes fast food and he is overweight, and then I just got some internet issue. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Yolanda, it's your turn. If Sam is saying that he can't afford personal training, what would you say to him?
I say please try this maybe 1 day or 2 days. If still not affect or still not make you like lose some weight, you can return the money.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting. Good. All right. Sam is a real person. Well, first of all, let's say there's many people like Sam that live all over the country with the same mindset, same habits. Okay. Sam does represent a real person that I knew. And when I was in the room, when Sam came into the office, you know what the personal trainer told him? He told Sam that he was going to die. He told Sam that if you do not buy this personal training, you are going to die. And I don't want to see you die. He said, you and I are the same age. And when you looked at the two people, the personal trainer and Sam, they looked like they were 20 years apart, but they were the same age. After Sam left, he did buy the personal training, by the way. After Sam left, I looked at the trainer. I said, why did you say that? I cannot believe you told this guy he was going to die if he didn't buy personal training. That's like ridiculous. And he said, all I did was tell him the truth. Whenever I was selling, I've been an entrepreneur for many years. I hated that part because I didn't want to be the pushy, sleazy, manipulative sales guy, right? But that's not what sales is about at all, okay? Sales is about helping people to see the ugly truth and helping them to facilitate the need that they have. Now, that's an extreme example, but I wanted to show you that because after that, I learned that if you really care about the person that is standing across from you, you won't have a problem selling to them. Sam did buy the personal training. He not only did that, he got into nutrition. When Sam walked through the door, he had never made one meal for himself, and he was 45 years old. He ate out breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when he said that he couldn't afford personal training, the personal trainer told him, you can't afford it because you spend $10 at fast food every day, 3 times a day. So if you spend $10 3 times a day, then you have $30 a day, right? At least to put towards personal training, at least for maybe two or 3 times a week. So he helped Sam to see that he could reallocate his money that was going towards his problem and reinvest it into his solution. And that's what Sam did. And Sam went on to be healthy and happier and turn his entire health situation around, turned his life around. So when you look at it from that perspective and you really believe that what you have can help that person tremendously and improve their life, you will not have a problem with selling. So the main issue is, how do we get to that mindset? How do we get to the point where we recognize the value that we're bringing to the customer and really understand the crisis that they're in? Think about it this way. When we look at sales, we look at it based on, okay, how much does the company need me to sell to be happy with me? What we need to focus on is, how badly does this customer need this service? When I look at businesses, I look at them not based on what my needs are, but based on how much longer they'll survive without me. Every business is on a timeline. Every business can only last for so long. We were on 1 Million Cups this morning, and we had a tax professional come on, and he said that there right now are 30 million businesses in this country that are about to fail. And he wants to get his message out so that he can help as many companies as he can. So when I talk to an entrepreneur who doesn't recognize what's ahead of them, I'm talking to them from a standpoint of someone who cares, that is trying to rescue them from something they don't realize is coming. And because I believe that, I'm going to come across to them in the most sincerest, heartfelt, thoughtful way. And they will be able to feel that. Okay. But if you don't believe that within yourself, when you go to talk to someone and try to sell your services, our marketing services, they're going to feel like a number. They're going to feel like you're trying to manipulate or persuade them or trick them or bamboozle them or scam them. You have to believe it within yourself. So here's me selling Google products, right? Now, some of you know I'm an actress. When you judge whether an actor or actress is good or not, you judge it based on their believability, right? Does this person really make you believe them, right? In the same way, when it comes to sales, you have to be believable. An acting trick that I use and many successful actors use is we make what we're saying true. So what we do is we convince ourselves that the things that we're saying, our lines, are real, so that when we say them, it sounds real. So when you're looking at an actor act and they sound like, they sound like they're just reading off of a piece of paper, is because they aren't convinced themselves of what they're saying, right? So if I said, Labeaud LLC is the best marketing company in Texas, it doesn't sound believable. Now, what do I know? There is a best marketing agency in Texas, right? There is one, right? There has to be one. Okay. Well, I'm going to give that company a name. I don't know the name of it. I'm going to call it Labeaud LLC. So now that imaginary company has a name, it's Labeaud LLC. So if I'm standing across from someone and in my mind, I know that there is a marketing agency that is the best in Texas, I'm going to say Labeaud LLC is the best marketing agency in Texas. And I can assure you of that. Now it sounds believable because I just gave a real existing company a name. So that can be a whole other teaching on another day. But there's something that I came across when I was learning recently. Reality field. Have you ever heard of that? Distorted reality field. It's when you convince yourself, or you are convinced, or you can convince someone of an impossibility. It's when you take something that is nearly impossible, but the way that you speak about it is that you make people believe that it's really possible. In sales, you have to have that ability, because sometimes you're going to stand in front of we'll talk about the different types of customers, but sometimes you're going to stand in front of a person who believes it's an impossibility that this Google hub nest that you're trying to sell to them is really going to make a big difference in their life. It's just impossible. You have to, in that moment, have distorted reality field, because within yourself, you have to be convinced in order to convince them. Okay. Mohammed, whenever you have any notes on this, you can go ahead and chime in at any moment. But anyway, I was selling these Google products, and the one thing that helped me sell really well, and they gave me a bonus afterwards, was because I took the few things that I absolutely loved about the product and I stayed right there. That's where I stayed. So that enthusiasm from me was genuine. It was a genuine vibe. So whenever I was talking to a customer, they could see the smile and the light in my eyes was real. And I wasn't trying to sell them. I was just trying to explain to them something I knew. You're going to love this. I love it. I use it all the time, you know? And so it has to come from a genuine place. Now, when in terms of Google and Facebook, they have one thing in common. They don't like you to talk about the competition. Whenever you're talking to someone and they start talking about some other competitor, they don't want you to bash that competitor. They want you to just stay focused on what the features of the whatever it is you're selling, right? And I agree with that. Don't bash the competitor. You don't have to bash any other marketing agency, for instance, in order to promote Labeaud, right? Keep the focus on the value, but you do have to research the competition. Why? Because when you are dealing with different types of customers, you will come across the expert. There will be somebody who knows a lot about that topic. So sometimes I will get customers that will stand in front of me and they'll be able to tell me about all the other tech things, tech products and alternatives. And sometimes those people want to see how much you know, right? So let's think about in terms of our company, for instance, with marketing. You're going to come across the business owner who knows marketing, who has a background in marketing. And you don't want to seem like you're just a robot or a parrot just repeating what you've been told. You want to seem like the expert. That is your role. You are the expert, right? So an expert knows about the alternatives and they're going to bring it up, right? So let's say, for instance, Google, for instance. There was those people who would come up to me and they'll be talking about, well, how does it compare to this? How does it compare to that? If I didn't have an answer, it looked like I was just some, salesy paper pusher type of person that didn't really know what I was talking about. Okay. So you have to educate yourself. So research what products the target demo compares the most. So what I did is I went the extra mile. Google, they'll just send you, and Facebook, they'll just send you everything about their products, right? But what you have to do is go and look at what articles and what videos out there show people reviewing these things. What are their common complaints? What are the things that they're saying? And that way you can come from a different angle. For instance, with Google, they compared it to Ring a lot, right? So if you didn't know anything about Ring, then, you didn't seem like you really were an expert because all you could talk about was Google. And if someone asked, well, what's the real difference? You wouldn't know the answer. So make sure that you are doing your due diligence. This is me selling Maybelline hyaluronic acid makeup. Thing about that makeup, what made it special is that it used hyaluronic acid. What that does is it's supposed to make your skin, well, it works in a scientific way. It actually draws moisture in, right? However, if you already have dry skin, it would make your skin drier. It has some weird effect to it. So I would actually mention that. So instead of just sounding like I was just only interested in you buying the Maybelline, I would say, hey, but just to let you know, if you have this type of skin, you probably want to go with the other version of Maybelline, but the other version and not this one. That way I showed that I actually cared about what was best for the customer rather than just selling more product, right? Mohammed, you have anything on that before I go to the next one?
I actually did, but I also have a point on the next one too.
Mhm.
But here, I just wanted to add a little something, because as a salesperson, especially today with all of the information available, this is very, very critical, because most of the customers, I mean, there are a lot of options all over the place, and most of the customers have access to that information. So for you, in order to get the deal, I like how Ms. Labeaud was talking about being an expert, because that's what you have to become as a salesperson. Whatever you're selling, you have to be the expert at your own product, and also the expert at knowing the competition. So that whenever they come to you, you become the resource. They don't have to go Google anything. Because I did a lot of what Miss Labeaud did, but it was door to door. So when I was inside of the home, I wanted to put myself into the position where they don't have to tell me, oh, I want to go Google it. If you want to Google it, I'm Google. I already know all of it. So I had all of my sheets with my products and all of the comparison. Everything was already here. Take it. If you want to Google it, we'll Google it together, so that I have a little bit of control over it. But this is very, very critical, because that makes you believable. Coming back to believability, you being the expert makes you believable. It makes you look like an authority, and people listen to authority. And if you have it all in writing, people believe what they see. So that is also going to help you. I just wanted to add that in there.
Perfect. So one of the things that you could do to sabotage yourself and mess yourself up is to feel like, when we're talking about being an expert, is to feel like you have to learn every single thing in order to sell this effectively. Now, whenever I was working with Google and with Facebook, they would send so much information about each and every product, right? And there was so much, and now you feel pressured to learn everything about it, just in case if you got in front of that expert customer, you didn't seem like an idiot, right? But this is what I learned, and this is also how I memorize scripts with acting. Identify your selling points. Every company has selling points. We have selling points. What are the top 3 features of importance to the customer or the consumer? Now, every company I've ever sold for, they'll give at least like 5 selling points, right? But that's going to be based on what they see as the value that they're bringing. Like, oh, we do this, we do this, we do this, and other people don't do that, and we do this. But what do the customers or the consumers most appreciate? What matters to them the most? It's not your list of 10 features of what the Google Hub Nest does. It's really only 1, 2, or 3 things. For the mom, is being able to check on her kids when she's at work. For the pet owner, it's them being able to check on their pet when they're away. For the person, the older person who's living alone, it's their ability to lock their door when they're at work and they remember, I didn't lock the door, and they can lock it with their Google Hub Nest. You see what I mean? It's those types of one-off things that matter most to the customer. So the only way you can know that is if you're listening. I know that you probably heard that before, right? In sales, you have to listen to the customer. Let them tell you what's important, or ask them, what's the most important thing to you about home security? If you're selling home security, or if you're selling like a ring type doorbell video camera, or a lock, or let's say a thermostat. Google has a great thermostat. What's the most important thing about your thermostat? Oh, well, I want to make sure that I'm saving the most energy. Oh, you do? Well, we have a feature that shows you how much energy you're using. Somebody else might say, well, I want to make sure that my bill isn't going to be too high. Oh, well, we actually will have a dashboard for you that shows you your electricity bill in real time as it's accumulating. Listen to them, let them tell you what's most important, and then let that guide the conversation. Whenever I used to personal train, I would get a prospect. One of the things we would do is we would take them through the gym and take them through a workout. And what we were told to do is basically bust their tail, basically give them the workout of their life. So they're walking away feeling weak and recognizing how out of shape they were. Whenever I would be doing this to someone, I would be going into over-explain mode and about all the benefits. Oh, we can do this, blah, 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 blah. And you know what would happen most of the time? People's eyes would glaze over and they'd be like, okay, I'll get back to you. Because now you've given them so many things to think about. Now they're having process disorder and they can't make a decision. You don't have to talk about all of the features. Let their concern guide the conversation. If they care more about these things, talk about that. And you could usually stay in like 2 areas the entire conversation. So familiarize yourself with everything, but when it comes to the customer, don't talk to them about everything. Only talk to them about what matters to them. Because if you give them too much, they may just say, okay, well, I'll have to talk to my husband about it. I'll come back. And the second thing is to choose to highlight what you love. Now, let's say you come across a novice customer. The novice customer is the customer that's buying this type of service or product for the first time, and they don't know what's good or bad, right or wrong. They don't have anything to compare it to. Most of the time they'll say, well, what do you like about it? Or what's your favorite flavor? Or which one do you like the most? Then that's when you talk about what you love and you just emphasize that and make that huge, right? That is the time to let that genuine enthusiasm come out so that you can get them excited, because you're now painting them a picture of what they can have at home. So that's your time to share your personal testimony. Mohammed, did you have something on this?
Yeah, I had so many flashbacks because with this particular slide, I want you guys to, I love how Miss Labeaud put it together, and it comes down to a few different words, but the first one that I want you guys to think about, it's like personalization, customization. Because every single customer, every single prospect, everybody that you'll be talking to will be a little bit different. So the most important part, it's you knowing everything about your product and you being able to ask the right questions so that you can get intel and understand their needs. When she says identifying your selling points are their pain points.
Yes.
So what's their pain? What's their problem? What do they need? I remember when I would go knock on the door, I will observe around, and when I see kids' toys, I know that they have kids. So I know that walking in, the door lock will be a good one. because just like Miss Leber was saying, the moms, they want to know that the house is safe, and they also want to know that the kids are not going to lose the keys. And the other thing that I wanted to add on here was that little, I mean, maybe it's a word thing, but it's features and benefits, which is exactly what she's saying here. The feature is, oh, my camera has a 180-degree lens. Look at my cool lens. That's a feature, right? But the customer doesn't care about that. You care about it because it's cool technology. The
Right.
customer care about the benefit that he gets from that feature, which is at night when I'm sleeping, when I'm not home and my wife is alone at the house, I can see who's walking around in front of my house. Or I can see my Ferrari parked in front of my thing. Or just like she said, with that thermostat, I'm going to save energy. So you as a salesperson, you really need to understand the feature and the benefit. And just like she said, ask the right questions so that you can know what their pain points are, and then figure out, okay, with these pain points, with these problems that they have, we have these 2-3 features that they can use, and this is the benefit that they get. And then when you sell the benefits. Like, don't talk about the cool stuff all the time. Talk more about what they really care about, which is what the product does to their family, how it protects the business, or how it actually helped them.
You know, what the company sells or how the company sells versus what the customers actually care about sometimes are two completely different things, but they shouldn't be. When I was selling the Oculus, there was so many features that they wanted us to emphasize. You know what the customers cared about? Something that we were never, ever told to highlight, ever. Tech support. They liked all of the new cool things that the Oculus Quest 2 would bring. The problem was only and always, if something goes wrong, why don't you answer me? Why can't I talk to somebody? Why when I submit a question, I don't ever hear back? I can never get tech support or customer support. That was the major problem. So even when all of those things were rolled out and launched, people still were complaining about the same thing. So you have to be aware that what does that look like in reality? When you're on a consult, let's say you're on a consult for marketing, you already did your research about the customer, and so you know what their business is. One of the questions you can ask to get quickly to the point is, so I've researched a lot of things about your business, and I understand what your value is and all the things you're trying to do. But where are your gaps? What gaps? Is it in staffing? Do you have projects that aren't getting finished? Initiatives you can't start? Or is your staff overwhelmed? Are there some projects that are stuck? Then that helps them to start identifying the pain points. And that is when we can start talking about how to fix those solutions instead of just running down the list of things that we do that maybe, let's say 70% of they don't even care about. So what is your role? Your role is to be the expert and not the salesman, okay? The salesman tricks and manipulates. The expert listens and provides options. When you're talking to a customer, they should walk away feeling like you are a resource, and that you are doing them a favor by assisting them to make the right choice for themselves. You are not trying to push something on them. You are trying to help them make the best decision for themselves, whether it's with your product or not. Because the last thing you want to do is have a reluctant customer, somebody that you sold on the sizzle and not the steak. And you sold them on the sizzle and they really didn't want it, but you just like, you had a good slick tongue, that good mouthpiece, and you got them involved. And then a week later, they're like, how do I cancel this? I didn't want this. I'm not a good customer for this. This is not even solving the problem. Now you have to deal with undoing the package and refunding the money. And now you got a bad review that you didn't even really need. Just be the expert. That takes the pressure off of you. It takes the pressure off of them. It changes the tone of the interaction. And I tell you, when you take that approach, you'll gain something better, which is a good referral. Because if you help someone, if you really help them in that conversation, which that's what you're trying to do as the expert, is to help them. They may not have actually used your service, but they will still refer you to everyone they know. Because even though they weren't a customer or they couldn't become a customer, they're like, this is the best. I can't wait till I can afford y'all. I'm going to tell all my friends. But if you're just the pushy person that's trying to have good numbers, then you're going to lose sight of being helpful. And that is the objective of the meeting, of the consult, is to be helpful. Do you get what I mean? Being helpful is the goal. And that's how you make the sell. So here are the different types of customers. There's the new customer who doesn't know anything about the industry, doesn't have any prior experience to compare. There's the loyal customer, the customer that's leaving, the curious customer, and the unhappy customer. The new customer is basically going to go by what everyone says is the best or what looks like the best. There's many companies that are great in terms of their marketing and their packaging, so much so that their product is not the best, but people still go to it because it looks the best. And if you're a newbie, you're going to assume that the company that looks the most successful is the best quality. This is another reason why good marketing is so valuable to customers or business owners. They don't realize they could have a great service, but because their marketing, it looks outdated. It looks, help me out, Mohammed. Some of this stuff, it looks very busy, very clashy, like their designs, and that's why people look at their I see it all the time in the film community. Like the what do they call that? It's the I'm going blank. You know what I mean? It's the cover of the movie.
Are you talking about the billboard?
Not the billboard. What,
Tagline, headline?
Like the posters, like the
yeah, the
promotional
poster, the movie
Yeah.
poster.
Oh, posters,
The
right?
movie poster looks so bad. And now nobody wants to watch it because it looks really bad. Anyway, businesses, they undervalue design, right? And marketing. And so they put their business out there with a really ugly logo and a really ugly website. And then they wonder why no one recognizes how awesome they are. Then you have the loyal customer who's going to be loyal to some other brand and they're not going anywhere. Very stubborn. They don't have a real good reason for leaving. Then you have the customer that's like has one foot out of the door. So you can kind of convince them to try something new. And then you have the curious one who's what's called a tire kicker. a person who has absolutely no intention whatsoever to buy anything, but they will stand in your face and talk the longest. And they will book a consult and they just want to talk to you and they're curious, but they're not going to do anything. So be careful about those. And then the unhappy customer who, you know, is how I feel about Spectrum right now. I am ready. I'm trying to threaten them today so that I can see if I can get some type of better service. It's horrible.
I mean, that might be insider secret, or not really. But sometimes when you call these companies and you kind of threaten to quit, they will probably give you a deal or they'll figure out how to solve your problem.
That is very true. That is very true. So know the difference between the novice and the loyal customer. Ask them, you can ask them a question like, this is how you'll know, for instance, if you're dealing with a novice customer when it comes to marketing. Just ask them this simple question. Have you ever worked with a marketer before? If the answer is no, then they are open, right? But the problem is with dealing with novice customers is they don't know what quality or value that you're bringing because they never worked with a marketing agency before. They don't know the value of it. So they know they need the marketing, but do they recognize how valuable it is? Probably not, because it's their first time and they're still learning a lot. So
can I just add a parenthesis here? Because it's important what you said. That's why you have to be the expert.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to be the expert, because especially with these new customers, you don't want to lose that deal. So you want to be in the position where you can answer all of his questions, bring him enough value so that maybe on a scale from 1 to 10, it can be like 6 to 7%. 6 to 7 over 10 confident that he can go with you. So I just wanted to say that here about being the expert.
Now, you also want to be careful of the other type of customer who has worked with a marketer, right? But who has worked with many marketers. There's a lot of marketers that fire their clients, right? Because they're bad clients. If you come across a business owner who says, oh yeah, I work with tons of marketers, and they've worked with like five different marketers over last year, then that's a red flag for us. Because that either means that they're constantly firing marketers or constantly getting fired by marketers. So that might be a person that's difficult to work with. So a good number, I would say, is to say that they've worked with at least one marketer before. I don't really like to work with companies one-on-one personally that have never worked with marketing before, because now I have to explain every decision I make rather than them seeing it, seeing the value instantly. Okay. All right. Now, remember I told you that I was the worst salesperson in the world. Here's the problem. I had an ego issue. This is how ego sabotages you. Now, during this time, no, I was good at sales at this time. I'm just using this picture. But in the past, that was issue. You might say to yourself, I don't have an ego issue. I don't think of myself so high that that's not what I'm talking about. There's many different things about ego that manifests itself in many different ways, and especially in sales. And I'm going to show you if that's an issue for you. By the way, this is the reason why I use this picture. This company is called Maven's Machines. They're from Pittsburgh. They're a tech company. Excellent. But at the time, they were an underdog, and now they're rising. On that day, I really didn't have to do that much, but I went over and beyond because I have a high standard for myself. of all the people that I talked to, I'm very, very sure that probably none of them became customers. But I didn't let that hurt my ego. I learned everything that I possibly could about this company because I really liked what they had to offer. And I thought it was interesting because I like technology. Because I did all of those things and all of those folks who walked up and wasted time and didn't want to buy and all of that, I did not let that deter me, but I learned more. After I left that position, it stayed with me. I just kept thinking about how brilliant their technology was. That technology inspired me so much that I came up with the idea for plant analytics, the idea that got us the WinSam deal. The point is, if you have an ego issue in sales, it'll make you miss the big picture. It'll make you have a closed mindset. You'll be so consumed with failure or the idea of failure that you miss out on the value in learning from the experience that you're doing. You only get better at sales if you're humble enough to learn. If you're not humble, then you're not going to get better, and you're just going to keep digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, this is how ego can affect you. This is how you'll know if it's affected you in the past. Number one, you'll allow disinterest to assassinate your enthusiasm. So as you're talking to people and people are like, no, 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 I'm not interested. No, I don't want, no, no, no. Then you'll be like, oh, I hate this. No one even wants to buy from me. No one wants this. Then you'll start to lose your enthusiasm. Second thing, you'll be consumed with not hitting your target. Many times when you're working in sales, they'll give you some kind of quota. I hate quotas, but and I don't give quotas, but they'll give you some type of quota, right? You'll get consumed so much with that, right? That if you don't hit it, you'll associate that with a personal effect on your character or your perception of yourself, and you'll start to feel like a loser, right? Because how are they selling and they're doing so well and I'm not, you know? Those things can distract you. The third thing is you'll become bitter about sales in general, and anything that has to do with selling, you'll want to stay away from it because you have negative thoughts around it. And fourth, you'll attempt to break the rules or find shortcuts. So we know those people who cheat when it comes to sales, fudging numbers and all of that stuff, because it is too hard for them to look bad. They don't want to look like they're not that good, so they'll lie. Remember this, anyone can win. Anyone can win. Not everyone can keep their morals intact. So you, as when you're working for me, and I'm just saying you should have this standard for yourself as well. Always have a higher standard for yourself than your boss has, a higher moral standard. If you do great, do it because of the intrinsic value and not the external validation. Do not resort to cutting corners, breaking rules, and looking for shortcuts because things are in chaos. Think your way out of it. Work smarter, but do not compromise your integrity, because you have to remain yourself. You still have to be Colleen. You still have to be Yolanda. You still have to be Mohammed. You don't want to lose yourself trying to perform, right? So examine your past sales issues. Look at the mistakes. Don't focus on, even when you start to do well, don't start patting yourself on the back and congratulate yourself thinking that you're somebody. Continue to look for ways to improve, okay? And also remember that your character should be able to withstand a few blows. If people don't want to buy from you, or if you're not doing well, just learn from it, adapt, change your pitch, change your tone, change your approach. Just learn. That's what marketing is all about. We fail a lot, a lot, a lot. Marketing is a test. All we can do is try to get better. And the goal is to become disciplined, right? And the only way you can do that is by looking to improve. And the only way you can do that is by being humble. Remember not to tie your identity to your sales performance, because that's how you psych yourself out. You know, don't let anybody else do that to you as well. Remember, true failure is giving up your morals to avoid failure. That's what I'm talking about. What I mean when I talk about ego is people willing to lie and cheat so that they can have maintain some image, right? Humiliation is not the worst thing in the world. So in all things, don't attempt to force people to accept your sale. Never do that, okay? Because you've already lost if you do that. All right, Mohammed.
I think hold on, I just need to find a coin. This is something that I've learned a while ago that has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And also, yeah, I'll use this one. In sales, in life also in general, because I like how you were talking about failure, because we were all conditioned, especially I think in the Western world, meaning Europe and the US, it might be a little bit different. But back when we grew up, failure was like a really, really bad thing. Failing, it's like if you fail at school, you're like the dishonor of the family, whatever, whatever. So my point is, later on, I understood that in order to be successful, there is no way that I'm gonna get that without at least 10,000 failures. And the lesson that I've learned is this one right here. My camera doesn't really focus, but you guys will get it. The coin has, I think it's heads and tails, right? That's how you say it?
Yeah.
Heads and tails. So if you want the coin and the head, it's the success side,
Mm-hmm.
and the tail is the failure side.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no way you can have the heads without the tails. So whatever you're trying to do, whatever success you're trying to get on the heads, because the heads are on the coin, there is no way you'll get the heads without the coin. So you need to have both. You need to understand that in order for you to succeed, you will have to go through the failures.
Yes.
Especially in sales. When she was saying your character needs to withstand something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Rejection,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to happen. You will hear no's again and again and again and again and again, all day, every day, all your life. But we need to understand that that's the process. That's how it works. That's how it is. So once you understand that and you're really okay with it, because it's hard to be okay with it. When you were talking about ego, I didn't even really think about ego like that, but it's true. It's a lot of ego and a lot of self-esteem issues, because technically it's not about you. They just don't want what you're selling. So you just got to be okay with that. Move on to the next one. Eventually you will get the yeses, but the no's have to come first. So that's what I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Okay, Yolanda, Colleen, you can come off of mute and ask any questions or give any comments.
I just wanted to add something when you were talking about ego. I think a lot of times people, if they have like think very highly of themselves, they think that like the way they're selling is like the best and like not they can't improve on anything. Like if someone's not buying something, they'll just immediately be like, oh, it's not my fault, like it's their problem. And they won't be able to like take a step back and like you said, like miss the big picture and realize like where they can improve and where they're missing opportunities to sell to people.
You're so right. I heard somewhere that people on average have to see a commercial 16 times before they actually know what it's all about. That's why they run commercials so many times. But sometimes people say no because they just don't understand what it is. They may come back around later. So you just have to be okay with it. Yolanda?
Yes, I just want to ask, like, since I see lots of companies just to do the online selling. So I want to know, like, is there like harder for us to do the online selling than outside selling? Is there any difference between them when you do the sale?
Good question. So I think you're asking, is there a difference? Is it harder to sell online
Yes,
than it is in person?
right. Because in person, I think we can, I mean, easier, maybe a little easier, but when we do it online, it's always difficult to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sometimes it depends. There's a difference. There's a real difference in selling a product versus selling a service.
Um,
Yeah. And then it depends on the circumstances when it comes to what is better in person um, or online. What I love whenever I was working for any brand or any company, I would love when they would put me in a target rich environment where people are coming there specifically for that thing. And I don't have, and they come there and they have the time and that's what they want. And that's what they're coming for. Rather than me saying, hey, wait. I hated being in that type of position. And in person, it can be like that. So it just depends on the scenario.
okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, actually, I have another. So, like
Mhm.
sometimes when we talk with the customers, the cust the customers will only provide the information like they think. For example, they think they need web design, they think they need content creation, but actually maybe not, or maybe they need more. But how do we like get more information about what they really need and how to communicate with them?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
I used to record some of my consults and use them for training. And I
Mm.
still have some of those, for those on the team that were new and they weren't comfortable with getting in front of people, I would let them watch me do it until they felt comfortable. And then I would send them out in twos so they wouldn't have to be on the call themselves with the client. Basically, that just comes with over time, but you have to know the key questions to get straight to the point. Remember how I said that one question, where are your gaps? Instead of starting with what did you come to me for? They might say, oh, I just need social media. Well, come to find out, it's much different than that. So if you start listening to what their problems are and you are really familiar with how we solve those problems, it'll be easy to see the connection. It's kind of like if you're a doctor, right? And the patient comes in to complain because the doctor is very familiar with the types of solutions available.
Mm-hmm.
And they know what types of questions to ask to make sure you get to what they need to know to recommend a certain type of medication or treatment. That's the way that you have to approach it. But if you're not really aware of everything that we do, you kind of just won't know how to direct the conversation. And that's on me. I have to make sure that everybody in the company knows everything that we do. And this is something I said on 1 Million Cups this morning. As a business owner, as you work with customers, you actually start to evolve your services, because now you find all these different other ways that you can service them. It's kind of like, it's called line extension. It's when a company starts off selling one thing, but then as they get to know their customers and the other problems they have, they start creating other supportive products that kind of relate to that core thing, right? So that's why we always have to have trainings to update everybody on what we do as we evolve. So,
Okay.
Mohammed.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to say that that could be one of the next training, how to identify how to identify the needs so that you can sell how it's supposed to be done. And then we can work on the process with all of the questions, because that's very, very, very important. That is exactly how you do it. Just like Miss Labeaud said, you really need to know the right questions. It's going to come with time, with practice and reps as well. But you got to know the questions, and you got to know about the product and what you're doing too. But I also wanted to, I will survey every one of you guys so that we can do more trainings as well. But I wanted to piggyback on what you said earlier and Yolanda's questions with the selling online and selling offline. It depends, just like Ms. Labeaud said. I agree with that 1000%. I would just say that I just wanted Yolanda to understand that the principles are similar, meaning when I'm here in person selling to somebody and when I'm on Zoom talking to somebody, it's the same thing. I'm still gonna have to ask questions. I'm still gonna have to identify the needs. I'm still gonna have to overcome objections. I'm still gonna have to close. I'm still gonna have to have that self-esteem and transfer that energy, that positive energy, so that that believability, that's what Ms. Labeaud was saying. So a lot of times the it depends comes into the prospecting, meaning how you will get the customer. Ms. Labeaud was saying she likes to be into a target-rich environment. That's the ideal, right? Where people know a little bit about what you're selling. You don't really have to go knock on the doors like I was doing. People are already interested, so they'll come to you or whatever. So you can have that both ways. You can have it online, you can have it offline. But that's a little more complicated online. I'm gonna be honest. Getting prospects, getting customers, that's slightly more, I would personally say that it's a little more difficult online than offline.
Oh, can I ask if we do online selling, it will be like cheaper or it will cost a little money? I mean, few money than selling in person? By our side, I mean.
If we sell in person, it depends, but usually it costs. And selling online in terms of ads, yeah, that will cost.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I think it costs more to sell in person, because if you're going to be in a target-rich environment, usually they're going to want you to buy a vendor's booths or something like that. And depending, it'll range from a few hundred to thousands.
Oh.
So yeah. Mhm. All right. If we don't have any more questions or comments, we can conclude.
I was just gonna ask quickly, like you talked about like being an expert and like not like a salesman. Just like what's the best way to like make the customer like feel comfortable and feel like you're not trying to like shove a product like down their throats and like be that expert instead of a salesman?
Come from a genuine place. So remember how we were saying, like, talking about the top features, really look at what are the pain points of the customer, what's the real problem for them. and understanding the full gravity of that. For us, is marketing, we're as a marketing company, you're looking at this business owner. And if you do your due diligence and you look into that company, and from your standpoint, you can see that they're really in trouble, come from that place. And when you come across to them, you will come across as a concerned friend, and they will feel that. Mhm. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make this training available to everybody else. And that pretty much is it.
That
Thank
was
you.
a good question.
Yeah, that was a really good question. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know it was short notice. We just had to find time to get it done. But thank you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Miss Labeaud. That was a
Thank
good
you.
training.